What a wild week for the market. The S&P is coming back to test some lows. Where do I think it's headed next? What's coming for earnings? And what are some greater trends that you need to be keeping track of? Let's talk about it. Diving right in, let me just say this week's trading was really lame for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Just basically just piddled around, got caught on some chop. Then we got this break on the wedge with Tesla, which I've been talking about for a minute. This is on the hourly chart. We saw a perfect break, a retest, and then plummeted from there. And that trade was excellent both yesterday and today. I put out a video immediately after earnings, which was like one of my most disliked videos ever. Which then led to a crazy profitable trade. Trading isn't free, but some opportunities are way more obvious than others, and this was one of them. This was staring you in the face. I love Tesla long term. We've got a double bottom on the year. Right now, well, guess technically a triple bottom. This is a huge pivot point for Tesla. I gave some other targets, but they're in the Discord. So join the Discord, and they're free. They're not only for subscribers, but hey, check out the Discord. I think you're going to find a lot of value there besides that. If we're looking at the SPY index right now, I posted in the Discord earlier, I was looking for, if we break here, let me actually zoom in so you can see this better, but if we get this break to another low, look for this 417 and then 408. In the Discord, I posted 416 and 409, very similar targets. Remember, I'm usually closing my trades before I actually hit my targets, managing that risk on the way down, always taking profits in chunks. And I measured that by drawing this fib retracements from here and then looking for the extension down. This is the auto fib extension tool, and this is what a lot of people do. Typically with trading, what your goal is for your technicals is always going to be like, what is everyone looking for? And that is the target that is most probable, right? So because this is an art, not a science. Now, the thing I want everyone to keep in mind is the greater trend that we've seen after a poor August and September. And I've covered this before, but I think it's important to have the refresher because I think right now a lot of people are becoming permabulls. But we need to remember, after a poor August and September, the market is undefeated when it comes to having a positive return in the fourth quarter. And I still think that there is a small chance that the market could go all the way to 4,600. Okay, we're talking about a $40 move to the upside for the SPY index. So when you're becoming a permabull and you're getting greedy with your short positions, I've closed most of mine at this point. Keep this in mind because you're taking on more and more risk as the market comes down. And I know there's a lot of concerns, especially when it comes to geopolitics, what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on in Ukraine, or what's going on in the global economy as well, or with credit or with student loans or the real estate market. Yes, I know all these things terrible, but the stock market is not the same. So keep that in mind. And the economy is showing some strength when it comes to the data, showing that it's probably going to be a slow bleed from here, a slow train crash that the market might have time to adjust to before we actually see a Fed pivot. Now, this also has correlated to yields remaining high, TLT continuing to suck. If we break below this 80, that's when I'm going to get really concerned. We have not seen it happen quite yet, but this is pretty rough. I still have my positions open. As I've said before, slow buying into this position and to the end of the year. I think the earliest you might see a pivot is March, and we've got a pretty good thesis on that. Maybe put out a video just on the macro economics of that trade and what I'm looking for in the future. But I also just want to touch on that briefly. I also want to touch on ARM. We did a whole video about ARM, so make sure you go watch that video because we did a deep dive on it with Monty, and he's been an all-star lately, having amazing performance. Even though we saw a bounce here, I gave a signal to the Discord members like, hey, if you want to take some profits here, now is a chance you might want to do it because there's potential for the market to have a rebound tomorrow, especially with these extensions that we've seen like on NVIDIA. NVIDIA had massive pullbacks. I mean, the whole market got weak and got scared about earnings. basically based off Tesla's earnings, which I think are pretty localized to Tesla. I didn't see any signals that this would be symptomatic of the broader market. So I'm a little iffy on why the market's reacting the way it is, if it's related to the geopolitics. I haven't talked about what's going on in the Middle East because I need to read several history books to figure out what's going on there. Again, I still hold the same position that I've had in the past. Watch out for the oil. We did, and this is important. This is important. If you might have missed the news, but there was some news that the U.S. warship, whose name I don't remember, actually did shoot down some drones that were attacking Israel, which is way different than how we're handling Ukraine, right? Because we've directly involved ourselves with our own ships and men to defend our ally. So just keep an eye on that because that's pretty significant, okay? So it's not the same. It's not a proxy war. We've actually involved ourselves. We'll see if we get more involved, but that could be a reason why the market's upset, because I don't see a whole lot of reasoning for why Tesla should be causing the entire market to have some fear. And we got some good data earlier too. Retail sales were stronger than expected. And I think that, like Jonah said on the podcast, go check out the podcast channel. He thinks that it's going to be a stronger for longer trend that's going to play out over the next few months. And, I think it's important to keep all that in mind. Now let's take a moment to talk about Costco. There's lots of Discord members that are very bullish on Costco. And because of that, I kind of just want to give a small warning here. We did get some cool news about a new CEO. The stock sold off on this news, although he seems, at a glimpse, seems to be a pretty good guy for the job. Over 40 years with the company, started with operating forklifts. Obviously, he has a lot of expertise in different aspects of the company as well as the culture. I think those are great signs. It's hard to know anything deeper than that. But I do want to say that the daily is rolling over. These technicals, this looks like a weak sideways chop, but on the greater trend, this looks like an ABC has played out, and this stock could make a 5-wave pattern to the downside. I want to point out the weekly is turning over as well. And this doesn't look great for Costco on shorter time frames. Like the 4-hour chart, we can see that we've hit some oversold conditions, meaning that more lows are likely on the way. And I would keep an eye on this greater trend line on the weekly chart as well. See if this wants to come down and test this and put the stock at around $500. This is definitely on my radar right now. So given everything going on with the wars, let's look at a defense company, Lockheed Martin. I try to do a very, very long time frame chart analysis here. We can see this diagonal seems to be developing. The weekly is rolling over, starting to get bullish here. The daily chart looks very strong right now. We did have a pullback in the short term on the stock. However, I think this is creating a bullish opportunity. I don't think the 15 minutes is the best way to display that. I think the 1 hour here shows that pretty well. A pullback. This is kind of like a very weak 5-wave pattern that's playing out right now, but it seems to be lining up pretty well with this parallel trend that we're seeing here. And so I'm looking at this stock to go from 444 where it's at to potentially the $600 range, maybe heading into next year. That'll play out. I think leaps here right now look very interesting, especially with everything going on in the world. I just wanted to throw that one on the radar as well. Let's finish out by touching on Bitcoin. Look, lots of people are still getting excited about this. They think that this new upswing is part of a greater trend. Bitcoin's going to break out. It's going to go all-time new highs. This looks like ABC sideways chop to me. I think we'll likely see the top of that fifth wave be resistance. And I traded this. I traded that fifth wave pretty much perfectly, got in at the third wave, and now I'm still on the said lines. I still have a portion of a long-term holding that I'm not trading, but I don't see any reason to be especially excited about this price action on Bitcoin. I know lots of people are saying that people are going to rush in with all the wars and stuff. Just on technicals alone, I don't see it. If you haven't joined the Discord, what are you doing? There's still lots of opportunities in the market. I'll be doing some write-ups over the weekend on the upcoming earnings for the next week. And if you looked at last week, my comments on Tesla and Netflix, they're pretty much dead on. I had some skepticism about Tesla earnings, but didn't want to play it until we broke out of the wedge. It ended up being bearish as I had heard rumors about, with the factory lockdowns that ended up being a big factor into the earnings. Netflix, there was some optimism from me on that ended up playing out as well. The stock remained strong, which I do expect entertainment to generally be strong even as the economy turns over. And I just did a short about that. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out. And go check out our podcast channel where we talk to experts in both the finance industry and the fitness industry. Tons of great content there. And join the Discord. Join the Discord already. And then you can be updated on everything. It's the central hub of everything I do. And by the way, the new clothing is fire. I love it. They're made by Champion, so you get good quality, not some, it's all made in foreign countries anyways, but it's at least of a decent quality. I hope you enjoyed this weekly report, and I will see you this Sunday on the podcast channel, because you're definitely going to go over there and subscribe, right?